Al-Khidr. While pagan mysticism typically aspires to union with a god, a practice which would otherwise be acknowledged in Islam as communication with jinn, the Sufis avoid all associations by claiming to make contact with the mysterious figure of Al-Khidr, meaning the Green One. Though not mentioned by that name in the Quran, Al-Khidr is identified with a figure met by Moses. He is referred to as the servant of God and as one from among our friends whom we had granted mercy from us God and whom we had taught knowledge from ourselves. In the Quran, Moses asks for permission to accompany him that he may learn right knowledge of what he has been taught. 26 But the name Al-Khidr is found only in hadith literature, such as the case narrated by Imam Ahmad in Al-Zud, whereby the Prophet Muhammad is said to have stated that Elijah and Al-Khidr meet every year and spend the month of Ramadan in Jerusalem, and another narrated by Yaqub ibn Sufyan from Umar ibn Abd al-Aziz, whereby a man he was seen walking with was actually Al-Khidr. However, to the Sufis, Al-Khidr acquired a number of occult associations and, we have to assume, was the disguise assumed by demonic apparitions. The figure of Al-Khidr has its equivalent in the cult of Saint George, shared by Christian, Jews as well as Muslims. George's mother was from Lydda, Palestine, but he was a Cappadocian born in Cilicia, the heartland of the Mithraic mysteries during Hellenistic times, and whose capital city of Tarsus was the birthplace as well of the Apostle Paul. 27 Historians note that the origin of Saint George is in Cappadocia and is similar to the ancient god named Dionysus Sabbatius, who was usually depicted riding on horseback. 28 The legend of Saint George killing a dragon is not a Christian story at all, but is a Christian adaptation of the typical duel of the Middle Eastern dying god, like Baal, against the sea dragon, or Zeus against Typhon the Titan. According to historian E. A. Wallace Budge, I doubt much of the whole story of St. George is anything more than one of the many versions of the Old World story of the conflict between light and darkness, or Ra and Apepi, and Marduk and Tiamat, woven upon a few slender threads of historical fact. Tiamat, the scaly, winged, foul dragon, and Apepi the powerful enemy of the glorious sun god, were both destroyed and made to perish in the fire which he sent against them and their fiends, and Didymos, also called the dragon, with his friends the 69 governors, was also destroyed by fire called down from heaven by the prayer of Saint George. 29. There is a tradition in the Holy Land of Christians and Muslims going to an Eastern Orthodox shrine of Saint George at Beit Jala, with Jews also attending the site in the belief that the prophet Elijah was buried there. These Muslims worshipped this same Saint George or Elijah as the Sufi figure of Al-Khidr, a tradition which was found throughout the Middle East, from Egypt to Asia Minor. 30 The figure of Al-Khidr originated most likely from Jewish legends and is associated with the Muslim Mahdi, in the same way that the prophet Elijah is associated with the Jewish Messiah. 31 According to the Book of Kings, Elijah defended the worship of the one God over that of the Phoenician god Baal. Elijah, like Enoch, did not die but is believed to have ascended directly to heaven. Some of the earliest sources on Sandalphon, an archangel in Jewish and Christian writings, refer to him as the prophet Elijah transfigured and elevated to angelic status. Other sources, mainly from the Midrashic period, describe Sandalphon as the twin brother of Metatron, whose human origin as Enoch was similar to the human origin of Sandalphon. In Kabbalah, Sandalphon is the angel who represents the Sephiroth of Malkut and overlaps, or is confounded with, the angel Metatron. Elijah is an important figure of the Kabbalah, where numerous leading Kabbalists claim to preach a higher knowledge of the Torah directly inspired by the prophet through a revelation of Elijah, Gilu Eliyahu.